Hello, everybody. It's Chap and the Cap. We're here for a young adult reading of a classic graphic novel, probably one of the big daddies from way back. The title is Mouse, written in the 70s, but the importance of it wasn't really realized by the general public for probably about 10 years after it was published, at which point they awarded it a Pulitzer Prize. Now, what I'm going to do is go ahead and we're going to look at the cover, and we're going to look at the inside flaps, and we're going to cover that stuff because you should always cover that important information before you just dive into a book. You know, there's a lot of good information there that's going to warm you up for what you have in store in the story. So I'm going to move on to sharing screen. And, you know, first of all, for those of you who used to come to the Teen Zone on a regular basis, I just want to say that we really miss having you guys in the building. This is tough times for a lot of people, and we stay strong and figure out how to still endure and get on with our lives and stay safe at the same time. So we miss you. Hope to see you again soon. In the meantime, we're going to enjoy a story here. Now, before I get started, just want you to know that this story is about a very delicate time in human history. But it's important history, indeed. And without further ado, let me go ahead and screen share, and I'm going to get right to the slides so that everybody can enjoy this. Now, the name of the story is Mouse. And as you can see, what we have there in the middle of the cover is a swastika, and below the swastika are two mice. And that will become important here in just a few minutes when I change slides. Okay, so the premise of this story and the storytelling, as you can see, what you have is a father and a son. Okay, the son is listening to his dad tell stories about his experience growing up and the war. Now, as you can see here, there's a map of Eastern Europe, and this is where the war essentially took place. It was the Second World War, and it did expand beyond Eastern Europe, but this is where the bad stuff happened in as far as being cruel to people. This little map here, Rego Park, New York, that is in Brooklyn, right, in Queens. And this is the neighborhood where these guys lived after the war. So let's go ahead and look at the inside jacket. Okay, this is the inside of the book, and you can see this is the library's book, which means you can borrow it at some time in the future, you know. But but for now, we're just going to enjoy this in the format of a virtual reading. Okay, and again, the author is Art Spiegelman. He's also the illustrator. He's a very talented guy. So let's get on with the inside flap. Okay, so Mouse is the story of Vladek Spiegelman, a Jewish survivor of Hitler's Europe, and of his son, a cartoonist who tries to come to terms with his father's terrifying story, and history itself. Its form, the cartoon, and you see in parentheses, the Nazis are cats and the Jews are mice, succeeds perfectly in shocking us out of any lingering sense of familiarity with the events described, approaching as it does the unspeakable through the diminutive. Now, what that means is that it was a horrible story, but it's told through little bitty animals. Okay, diminutive means small. So it is, as the New York Times Book Review has commented, a remarkable feat of documentary detail and novelistic vividness, an unfolding literary event. Moving back and forth from Poland to Rego Park, New York, Maus tells two powerful stories. Okay, what they mean by moving back and forth between Poland and Rego is that, keep in mind, Art's father is telling him a story. So when he's telling the story, he's going to be in Poland. And when he's listening to the story and asking his father questions, he's in Rego Park in New York. So they flip back and forth. And you'll see it. This becomes clear when you're looking at the graphic novel, when we start showing the actual pages. Okay? Okay, so the first story. The first is Spiegelman's father's account of how he and his wife survived Hitler's Europe. A harrowing tale filled with countless brushes with death, improbable escapes, and the terror of confinement and betrayal. The second is the author's tortured relationship with his aging father as they try to lead a normal life of minor arguments and passing visits against a backdrop of history too large to pacify. At all levels, this is the ultimate survivor's tale, and that, too, of the children who somehow survive, even the survivors. Maus takes Spiegelman's parents to the gates of Auschwitz. Auschwitz is a labor camp in Europe that they used to imprison the Jews. The Germans would imprison the Jews at various camps. This one is about Auschwitz. Okay, so he takes them to the gates of Auschwitz, and him to the edge of despair, with a sequel to come, meaning that there's a book 2 for Maus, which we'll also get to if in fact we're able to continue doing this wonderful series. Put aside all your preconceptions. These cats and mice are not Tom and Jerry, but something quite different. This is a new kind of literature. Now, it says new kind of literature. Keep in mind, like I said, it was written in the 70s. We know that the art form and the literary form of graphic novels is no longer new. As a matter of fact, it's one of those types of literature. It's, of course, we could probably classify it as a new genre, even though it's been around for 30 years or more. But let's continue with the flap. So now you're going to see a couple of opinions here of people that have prominent places in society. So the first one is from Susan T. Goodman, and she says that it's a compelling visual document. The tiny animal figures that move, dress, and speak like human beings become a metaphor for the Jewish experience. And she's the chief curator of the Jewish Museum. Okay, the Associated Press, people that they call it the AP, you'll see it in the news a lot. Spiegelman has transformed Nazi Germany into a monstrous mousetrap, simple and powerful. That's the Associated Press, what they call the AP. And then there's one final one. Mr. Spiegelman's passionate pen has stretched the boundaries of the comic strip form and created a work of immense power. That's Ed Sorrell wrote that. Now this is a little bit about the author, okay? And obviously it's his dad's story that he documents and puts in biography form. They actually have it put it in the category of autobiography, which means it's self-written. And because Art, the son, is the one who is capturing the story, it's still his story. Okay, so let's go ahead and see what they tell us about the artist himself. And you can see he shows himself drawing on the artist's table with his signature below. Anyway, this tells us a little bit about Art. It says Art Spiegelman, born in Stockholm, that's in Sweden, in 1948, is co-editor of Raw, the internationally acclaimed magazine of avant-garde comics and graphics. His work has been published in the New York Times, Playboy, The Village Voice, and many other periodicals in the United States and abroad. He has received Europe's highly respected Yellow Kid Award for his work on Mouse, and also Playboy's 1982 editorial award. A teacher at New York School of Visual Arts, he lives in New York, where he is currently at work on Mouse Part 2. See, so this, he hadn't even done Part 2 yet. We have it downstairs in the teen zone. Oh, right here. As you can see, I'm in the teen zone. How about that? Anyway, Part 2, he calls From Mousewitz to the Catskills. Pun indeed. Okay, so let's get started on the story. And this is the Verso page, which gives you the publisher, the years. They recopied it. It's been printed several times, and this is where you get the details about the publisher and the author, whatever. You know, this is the official stuff that you get from the publisher as well as the author. And he has a little bit, as you can see up top here, he gives some thanks to some friends who helped him out. And as you can see, okay, he gives thanks to Ken and Flo Jacobs and some other people who appreciate, whose appreciation and moral support have helped this book find its shape. Okay, so a lot of times storytellers do need professionals to overlook the work that they're doing. He also thanks Mala Spiegelman for her help in translating Polish books and documents, and for wanting Mouse to happen. So she was part of the story. We'll read about her a little bit when we get into the story. Also to Francois Mouly for her intelligence and integrity, for her editorial skills, and for her love. That's Art's wife, just in case you were wondering. Okay, and these are the years that they published it, and you can see the copyright and all the other information, ISBN numbers and things of that nature. Okay, and a quote of Adolf Hitler, it says, "The Jews are undoubtedly a race, but they are not human." An appropriate quote for the way that this story will be told in its visual depiction. So let's go to the first page and see what happens. And now, as you can see, what I'm doing is I have a magnifying glass here, one of the wonders of our technological world. And what I'm going to be doing, because even though you can see the slideshow with the graphics, you might find it a little challenging to read it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this magnifying glass across, and I hope that for you guys, for those of you who are in attendance, I hope it's not too much of a distraction for you. I hope it helps, because that's my intent, is to be helpful for you. So, without further ado on anything else, let's get into the story. All right, we'll probably get a couple of chapters done. So let's see what we can do. So the story begins in Rego Park, and the year is 1958. And we see here that Art is starting his story by describing himself in his neighborhood in Rego Park. Here goes the story. It was summer. I remember. I was 10 or 11. Last one to the schoolyard is a rotten egg. I was roller skating with Howie and Steve. There's Art. There's Howie and Steve. see a guy cutting grass. Okay. Next we see, okay, I was roller skating with Howie and Steve till my skate came loose. See what happened with his skate? Ow! I guess he fell down. Hey, wait up, fellas. And they yelled back at him, rotten egg, haha. Well, wait. Sniff, sniff. My father was in front, fixing something. So they were rolling around in the neighborhood near Art's house. He lost his buddies because his skate broke, and he runs into his dad at the house. Artie, come to hold this a minute while I saw. That's the sound Snark makes. Why do you cry, Artie? Hold better on the wood. I fell. My friends skated away without me. He stopped sawing. Friends? Your friends? If you lock them together in a room with no food for a week, then you could see what is friends. That's just a little introduction to the story. 10-year-old, 10 or 11-year-old Artie and his dealing with his dad. So we can see here, this is the inside cover. It says, My Father Bleeds History. And this one is mid-1930s to the winter of 1944. Okay, so the mid-30s to 44 encompasses the time when Adolf Hitler took over in Germany and then prosecuted the war, starting in Poland, and it spread around the world. The war in Germany ended in 44, and then, well, that's when, well, we'll see, but that's when Art's dad was released from prison. But these are the chapters we're going to find in this first book. First chapter is called the Sheik, and then we'll press on from there. And here's the Sheik. It'd probably be better if I just push this aside for now. The Sheik, and look at it. We'll see what this is about here in a moment. Chapter 1, the Sheik. Okay. So I went out to see my father in Regal Park. I hadn't seen him in a long time. We weren't that close. Papa, oi, Artie, you're late. I was worried. It's a shame Francois also didn't come. Uh-huh, she sends regards. He had aged a lot since I saw him last. My mother's suicide and his 2 heart attacks had taken their toll. Mala, look who's here, Artie. He was remarried. Mala knew my parents in Poland before the war. She was a survivor too, like most of my parents' friends. Hi, Artie. Let me take your coat. Dinner is on the table. Ah, Mala. A wire hanger you give him? I haven't seen Artie in almost 2 years. We have plenty of wooden hangers. They didn't get along. Notice the squares underneath the pictures and on top of the pictures. Those are little explanations about the situation. The bubbles over their head with a little arrow pointing to the speaker, those are the actual dialogue, just in case you didn't know. I'm sure you guys knew that, but it was important for me to remind you of that. So let's go ahead and continue on. After dinner, he took me into my old room. Come in, we'll talk while I pedal. It's good for my heart, the pedaling. But tell me, how is it by you? How is going the comics business? I still want to draw a book about you, Artie says. The one I used to talk about to you. The one I used to talk about? The one I used to talk to you about? About your life in Poland and the war. It would take many books, my life, and no one wants, anyway, to hear such stories. I want to hear it. Start with Mom. Tell me how you met. Better you should spend your time to make drawings. What will bring you some money? But if you want, I can tell you. I lived then in Szystokswa, a small city not far from the border of Germany. I was in textiles, buying and selling. I didn't make much, but always I could make a living. I was, at that time, younger and really a nice, handsome boy. Let's see if we can get this out of the way. Yeah. I had a lot of girls, what I didn't even know, that would run after me. Now, a little point here, because I noticed that you might be picking up on the language not being used, the English language not being used in its correct format. That's because, as we explained, Art's dad was born in Poland, and that was his first language. He learned English while he was living in Poland, but he didn't, like us learning another language, we might not say it correctly. So, I'll try to read it exactly the way he says it, because because it's an important part of the story. So, anyway, I had a lot of girls, what I didn't even know, that would run after me. Hello, Vladik. This is Ulik. A friend of mine, Lucia Greenberg, would like to be introduced to you. You can see it's a poster of a movie poster. It says, people always told me I looked just like Rudolph Valentino. He was the guy in the movie, the Sheik. Eventually, I took Lucia to dance. Do you live alone? Yes. I have a small apartment. My parents moved to Sosnowiec. I'd like to see it sometime. Maybe sometime. Wherever I went, I looked around, and Lucia Greenberg would also be there. Vladik, which way are you going? Just to the market. Me too, let's walk together. But Pop, Mom's name was Anna Zilberberg. All this was before I met Anya. Just listen, yes? Why don't you ever invite me to your home? Are you ashamed of it? She kept insisting me to show her my apartment. So finally, I invited her. Everything's so clean and neat. I like to keep things in order. You must have another girlfriend who cleans for you, no? No. I didn't want to be more closer with her, but she really wouldn't let go. She wouldn't let me go. Was she the first girl you, Yes, we were more involved, so like the youths here today. We saw each other together, for maybe 3 or 4 years. Let's get engaged, Vladik. It's late, I'll take you home. Not yet, please. Come on, your parents would worry. Her family was nice, but had no money, even for a dowry. A dowry, just in case, is some money that parents put aside for their daughters for when they get married. And it kind of helps to ensure that the daughters are not only attractive physically, but they have some money to help with the beginning of marriages. So that's what a dowry is. Well, every holiday I went to visit my family. It was maybe a journey of 35 or 40 miles. And as you can see on that ticket, that was December 1935. And here he's getting off the train. Cousin Vladik! It's good to see you again. Listen, there's a girl in my class. I want you to meet us tomorrow. Her name is Anya. That's how you say it in Polish. The J sounds like a Y, so it's like Anna. We could say Anja, but I like this. I like to say it the way they say it there. It's Anya. She's incredibly clever, from a rich family, a very good girl. The next morning, we all met together. Cousin and Anya spoke sometimes in English. How do you like him? He's a handsome boy and seems very nice. Well, I promised to be home early. I'll leave you two alone. You know, you should be careful speaking English. A stranger could understand. You know English? Did you study it in school? I had to quit school at about 14 to work. But I took private lessons. I always dreamed of going to America. It's a shame you have to return to Szestakwa so soon. Yes, but I have my business. Have you a phone at home? As soon as I came back to Szestakwa, she called. Once a day, twice, every day we talked. And then she started writing to me such beautiful letters. Almost nobody could write Polish like she wrote. I visited a couple of times to her. She sent me a photograph there. I bought a very nice frame. It passed maybe a week until Lucia again came and saw the photo. I'm going to get engaged to her, Lucia. And look at what a beauty you picked. Looks aren't everything, Lucia. It isn't good for either of us that you keep coming up here. We have to plan for our futures and forget her. Let me make you happy. It was not so easy to get free from Lucia. Mom wasn't that attractive, huh? We're back at Art now. Not so like Lucia, but if you talked a little to her, you started loving her more and more. One time we walked into the director from her school. You're very lucky, Mr. Spiegelman. You don't know what a girl you're getting. I've had many students, but never one as sensitive and intelligent as Anya. Yes, that's why I picked her. I wish you could visit me in Szestakwa. I'd like to show you off to my friends. I've begged my mother to let me go, but she's so religious and old-fashioned. She would never allow me to go to a bachelor's apartment. Anya's parents were anxious. She should be married. She was 24. I was then 30. Oh, my parents would like you to come to dinner tomorrow night. This Wilburberg family was very well off, millionaires. It's out of the way. The Zwilbergers had a hosiery factory, one of the biggest in Poland. But when I came in to their house, it was so like a king came. Welcome, welcome, Anya. Vladek is here. Make yourself comfortable while I help with dinner. To see what a housekeeper she was, I peeked into Anya's closet. Everything was neat and straight, just the way I like it. But what's this? Pills? I wrote down every pill. If she was sick, then what did I need it for? Dinner is ready. Later, a druggist, told me the pills were only because she was so skinny and nervous. How about some more gefilte fish, Vladek? So to make a long story short, by the end of 1936, we were engaged, and I moved from Częstochowa to Sosnowiec. Here I forget to tell something from before I moved to Sosnowiec, but after our engagement was made. One evening the bell rang. Lucia, what are you doing here? I'm on my way out. I'll come with you. No, you can't come with. Please, Vladek. She fell on the floor and held strong her legs. Don't run away! Slam. I ran to my friend who had introduced us. He went to calm her down and took her home. I didn't hear more from Lucia, but also I stopped hearing from Anya. No telephone calls, no letters, nothing. What happened? Hello, Mrs. Zilberberg? Could I speak to Anya? She says she won't speak to you. Why? But why? She got a letter from someone in Częstochowa. My God, it says the worst things in the world about you. Well, I can't convince her on the phone. I'll come down by train on Friday after work. It wasn't even a holiday, but I went anyway to Sosnowiec. So tell me, Anya, what have I done that's so terrible? You should know. Just read this. I don't even want to see it. Just tell me who wrote it. Or better yet, I'll tell you. Lucia Greenberg, right? It's just signed your secret friend, L. It says you have a very bad reputation in Częstochowa, that you have a lot of girlfriends, and that you are marrying me for my money. Ugh, Anya, you should know me better. Ask anyone in Częstochowa about my character. Lucia's an old girlfriend who won't leave me alone. She means nothing at all to me. And after much talking, I convinced her. So I moved to Sosnowiec at the end of 1936. And February 14th, 1937, we were married. And now some vodka to toast the young couple. I moved into one of father-in-law's 2 apartments. He owned both, and he gave to me part ownership and a very beautiful gold watch for a wedding gift. But what I just told you about Lucia. And so, I don't want you should write this in your book. What? Why not? That's Art asking the question. It has nothing to do with Hitler, with the Holocaust. But Pop, it's great material. It makes everything more real, more human. I want to tell your story the way it really happened. But this isn't so proper, so respectful. I can tell you other stories, but such private things I don't want you should mention. Okay, I promise. And that was chapter 1. Remember, the title of that was The Sheik. And the reason why he titled it that was because it tells about Vladek's pre-marriage years and his bachelorhood and some good background stories, even though Art said that he wouldn't put it in the book. So you see how sons are, when they got a good story,